Hey, yeah. Good morning, ladies, gentlemen, and others who shall remain nameless. Yes. Wow. Oh, well, it is cold out. I think I'm gonna go back inside again. We're gonna do that. We're gonna go inside where it's warm because it's hovering around -10, -12 right about now. So yeah, indoors is good. Indoors is very good. Oh, yeah. So, beautiful day. Hey, yeah. So, anywho, I'm out of One Sound Harbor. Yeah. And back there you can see the Chichimon. Oh, yeah. And behind me is the Oak Glen out of Montreal. Big Laker. And, yeah. So I'm out and about, and I want to talk about one of the more bizarre claims that I've recently heard being made about me as an atheist by a number of evangelists and evangelical types on Twitter. Yes. Now I know Twitter is a cesspit and it's a terrible place full of terrible people. And this goes doubly for the evangelicals. These are bad people, but I have been told in no uncertain terms that the only reason that I cannot be an atheist, because if I was an atheist, I would be out raping and murdering and robbing, because only the fear of a God can stop a person from doing those things. And I asked these people, is that the only thing that stops you from raping and murdering and robbing? Fear of a God? And they're like, oh, yes, it's the only thing. If it weren't for that, I'd be out raping and murdering and robbing. Oh. And my answer to them is, dude, continue believing in this big scary God of yours, if that's what it takes. But the rest of us have something called decency. And decency is what stops us from raping and murdering and robbing. Empathy is what stops us from raping and murdering and robbing. The fact that we have no desire to rape and murder and rob is what stopped us from raping and murdering and robbing. Okay? We don't need a God. We don't need the threat of being punished and tortured by a God to make us be decent people. We just need to exist. Decency isn't something that we have to fake because we're terrified. It's something that just happens. It's like breathing. Decency, for me, is like breathing. It's just an innate part of who I am. And if you can't understand that, if you can't be a decent person, if all you can do is pretend to be a decent person because you're afraid of being tortured by a God, you're not a decent person. You're a monster on a leash. And please, stay on that fucking leash. Thank you. Now, I do understand that maybe you've just been brainwashed to think that you are a horrible person. And that you're actually a good person and just don't know it. So yes, benefit of the doubt does exist. But yes, still, if you believe that without the threat of a cosmic sky bully to punish you, that you would be doing terrible things, you really need to ask yourself why you believe that. And you need to not be dumping that on the rest of us, because most of us manage just fine. Anywho, yeah. So, yeah. The idea that you cannot be a good person unless you're being threatened by a sadistic God may be an absolute load of bullshit. Okay? It may very well be that you are in fact a good, decent person on your own, and that you are just attributing your decency to fear of punishment. Well, that kind of self-loathing is unhealthy, to say the very least. It is indicative of somebody who has been conditioned to think badly of themselves. Somebody who has been trained from childhood to see themselves as bad, worthless, dirty, evil, degenerate, depraved, and of course, quote, sinful. Yeah. And whoever did this to you, whoever indoctrinated you with this self-loathing and self-hatred, they were never your friend. They were never your friend. And that's just a fact of life. Whoever did this to you was never your friend. Well. So maybe you should reconsider this bit of doctrine that you have been spoon-fed from childhood, and consider the possibility that you may in fact be a good, decent person. Innately. That it may in fact just be a part of who you are. And that maybe you need to have a little bit of self-respect and self-esteem. But of course, self-respect and self-esteem lead to questioning authority. We can't have that now, can we? You have to be obedient to authority, right? After all, authority was put in place by your God. At least that's what the authorities say. Yeah. And you should always listen to your pastor, because he has your wallet at heart. Yeah. Something to think about. Maybe you're not as bad as you've been trained to think of yourself as being. Maybe you're actually a good, decent human being who just needs to acknowledge the fact that you are a good, decent human being. Maybe you need to just overcome that brainwashing. Break that indoctrination. And accept the fact that you are a good person, that you are a decent person, that you are an ethical person, and that you are in fact capable of thinking in terms of the well-being of your fellow human being on your own. Maybe you should develop some self-respect, some self-esteem, and some self-regard. But what do I know? I've only been kicking around for 58 years. Yeah. Anyway, take care, be well, stay safe. Love yous all. Be well.